At the very start of One Piece, Luffy boldly declared that he wanted at least 10 crewmates to join him on his journey to become the Pirate King. Over the years, he has carefully selected his crew, bringing together a diverse group of individuals with unique abilities, personalities, and dreams that align with his own. However, despite assembling an extraordinary crew, there are currently only 9 official members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Who is going to be that 10th member? In today's video, I talk about all of the possible candidates that could be the 10th and final member of the Straw Hat Pirates. The first characters here are ones that people thought might join the crew at one point, but as the story progressed, it became clear that these characters are doing their own thing and not going to be joining the Straw Hats. Like Sabo, for example, was thought to be joining the crew at the beginning of post-time skip in Dressrosa. After reuniting with Luffy, many people thought that Sabo would end up joining at the end of the arc, but as we saw, he's pretty loyal to the Revolutionary Army, especially now with recent events that have happened in the story. I think the chances are very, very slim. Of course, it would be cool if Sabo joined the Straw Hat Pirates. He would be a great fit. He would have great chemistry with all the other crewmates, but he's the guy. He's the main guy of the Revolutionary Army now, and Oda's kind of made that clear. Sabo's been the one we've seen a lot, not Dragon, the actual head of the army. It's been Sabo. So Sabo's a possibility, just not a big one. Next up is Carrot. She was theorized to join for a long time because she traveled with the crew from Zou to Wano. Luffy kind of has a diverse crew already, and since Carrot was a mink, people thought a mink would end up joining, but that's not the case. If Carrot did join, it would kind of be like a diversity hire. She'd be the third girl on the crew, a mink, but Oda shut down pretty much all theories around Carrot joining at the end of Wano when she was given the title as the leader of the minks now, so her chances of joining are also very, very small. Next up is Paulie, one of the shipwrights in Water 7. I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say my first time watching Water 7, I thought Paulie was going to be the crew shipwright, especially if you weren't spoiled of Frankie being on the crew. You probably were thinking Paulie was going to join, because in Water 7, he was getting a lot of screen time. Until Innie's lobby, when Frankie kind of took over that screen time, Paulie was getting quite a bit. And then it also turns out all the other shipwrights were undercover CP9 members, so it kind of just left him there until it was revealed that Frankie was also a talented shipwright. Then you kind of had the dilemma of which one's is it going to be. For a solid 20 to 30 episodes, I was definitely convinced Paulie was going to join, but as we saw, Frankie joined, so now Paulie's chances are pretty much zero. I'll just say it, they're zero. Another possibility people have talked about in the past is Perona. She had really good chemistry with the crew and also spent 2 years with Zoro during this time skip. And then when she showed up at Sabaody, when those episodes were first coming out, people were like, oh, is she about to join them on their trek to Fishman Island? What's going to happen here? But it turns out she doesn't join them and she's on her own mission. It did make sense for a while though. Perona was all alone after Thriller Bark, so her joining a new crew wasn't out of the question. However, recent Pirate Island episodes show that she's still very much loyal to Moria and even went to an Emperor's territory to break him out. That pretty much closed the option of her being the 10th and final member, but she could still end up joining the Grand Fleet at some point. I'm not saying no to that. Next up is Smoker. At the start of One Piece, he was always chasing down Luffy and even returned in Punk Hazard for an arc. It was thought that he might leave the Marines to join Luffy after seeing his sense of justice so many times and defeating some of the evil people in the world like Crocodile in Alabasta and even Caesar in Punk Hazard. And it's still a possibility in the future. This is one that hasn't been completely closed off yet because Smoker could realize the Marines are kind of corrupt in some ways and he could choose to leave and join Luffy because he thinks Luffy's sense of justice is better, but it just doesn't seem very likely. And Smoker and Tashigi are kind of like a duo, so if one joins, the other would be there, or maybe they fight and Smoker leaves Tashigi. Who knows? Next up is Aokiji. After leaving the Marines, a lot of people theorized he would meet up with Luffy at some point and join them. That idea was quickly shut down after Aokiji joined another Emperor's crew, Blackbeard. The belief is still alive that Aokiji will betray Blackbeard at some point. I do fully believe that, but I don't think it will be to leave Blackbeard and join Luffy. I think the betrayal will either be for the revolutionaries or for a completely other motivation. Enel is a name that's been thrown around as the 10th and final Straw Hat crew member because he will come back at some point. We have seen how important Skypiea has been over the course of One Piece, and we've seen that Enel has been doing some big things on the moon. I think that's going to come into play. They're probably going to animate it soon. I'm going to call it right here. They're going to animate those cover stories soon because they're going to be important. Anyways, the question is, what will Enel do once he comes back? Because he's kind of a wild card. The government doesn't know about him, and the only people that know about him are the Straw Hat Pirates and a few other various names. He's not connected to any part of the world and has no bounty, so he could end up joining Luffy. However, I think he's going to be kind of his own person once he comes back. Maybe though, maybe a part of the Grand Fleet. I don't know though. Next up is Caribou. Believe it or not, it's a name that's been thrown around because he was just with the Straw Hats for so long, since Fishman Island and even at the end of Wano. So that's a long time that he was just hanging around, doing nothing, doing a whole lot of just peeping. He was just peeping. He's peeping everybody. Some people think the final member will be a Logia Devil Fruit user since there isn't one on the crew. Caribou is a Logia Devil Fruit user. He just has no chemistry with them. They all do not like him already. And as we've seen with some manga spoilers right now, a few manga spoilers, he has been telling a lot of information to Blackbeard. Think of how Bartolomeo is to Luffy. That's how Caribou is to Blackbeard. He's definitely not joining the crew. Kinemon and Momonosuke, people thought one of these two would join, if not both of them, partly because they were just with the crew for a very long time, and after defeating Kaido, maybe one of them would leave and join Luffy on his journey, but they're both needed in Wano to protect the land, and they need more than that. Honestly, if anyone strong comes to Wano, they're not going to be able to protect it. I think Blackbeard's going to raid Wano soon. It's going to be tough. All of those characters, probably less than 5% chance combined that any of them join the crew. However, here we go with some of the big names that really could join. First up, Yamato. I think a lot of people, almost everyone watching Wano, thought Yamato was going to join. She had great chemistry with Luffy. She was around a lot. She was that troubled child that really wanted to go out and see the world. And then the end of the battle comes and she all of a sudden wants to stay and protect Wano, playing the role of like Odin. I'm saying the wrong pronouns, I'm sorry. But Yamato had to stay behind and protect Wano because, quite frankly, the samurai are not completely strong enough to do it themselves. Considering Yamato didn't join already when the opportunity was there, it's less than 10% chance that Yamato will be the final crew member. Marco, another character people thought would join after Wano. In theory, it made a lot of sense. He was pretty much alone in the world now. He lost his captain, Whitebeard. He lost a lot of his friends, all of the Whitebeard pirates in the war after Marineford, when Whitebeard, the rest of the Whitebeard pirates tried to get revenge on Blackbeard. Similar to Yamato, Marco just said he simply just doesn't want to join, and he even declined an offer from Shanks. So it seems like Marco is kind of done in the story. I would say his character's done for now. If you asked me at the end of Wano, his percentage of joining, I would say pretty high, but after declining an offer from both Luffy and Shanks, it's below 5%, probably like 2%. Pudding, another character. She has a very useful devil fruit that could be of some major help to the crew, but she doesn't offer very much other than that, especially in terms of strength. It would just be another person added that needs protection, like Nami, Usopp, Chopper. However, Pudding has been kidnapped recently though, so I would say she has a 3% chance of joining. Something could happen. Gecko Moria is a name that's been thrown around the community, and it's similar to Perona. It's an interesting and tricky one. There's some theories that he's gonna have a great comeback and get back to his prime fighting days when he was fighting with Kaido for 3 days straight. I don't know though. Maybe he's got some ambition sparked into him after being kidnapped, or not kidnapped, imprisoned by Blackbeard. I would say his comeback is very possible. Him joining the Straw Hats, not possible. 4% chance of Moria being the 10th crew member. Oh yeah, by the way, these percentages aren't going to make a lot of sense. They're not adding up to 100%. I'm just saying genuinely what I think it might be, their percentage of joining. All right, next character is a character that is in the manga right now. If you're not reading the manga, skip to this timestamp if you don't want to be spoiled of who this character is. The giant Loki could become the 10th member of the Straw Hat Pirates. This is a theory popping up now, and it's a similar situation to what I talked about in Wano with Yamato and Marco. Loki's just around in this arc, so it's going to be a popular theory that he's going to be the one joining just because he's around the crew. He's that side character that's being with them. Loki could become a very strong ally to the crew. Who knows if he joins, It would add some diversity since he's a giant and the Straw Hats don't have a giant on the crew. If it's not Loki, I think someone in the Elbaf arc or the arc right after Elbaf will join. So I'm gonna say a 20% chance Loki joins. I guess I should say it's not 100% confirmed another crew member will join. Luffy just said his ideal amount is 10, not including himself, and he has 9 with everyone else and then 10 including himself, so it makes sense. My personal take is that the last member has to be someone pretty strong, like Jinbei level strength in that 4th to 5th spot in terms of strength, because you have the 3 at the bottom: Nami, Chopper, Usopp. Brook and Frankie can hold their own, Robin can hold their own. We need someone else like right above those guys to really put the Straw Hats on a good level. So some of these characters just aren't on that level, and that's why they have low percentages. Bon Clay is the next character I want to talk about. If he could ever escape Impel Down and meet back up with Luffy, 1000% Luffy is gonna recruit him because they're just best friends, right? And Bon Clay helped him in Alabasta, helped him tremendously in Impel Down. The fan base would love to see him back, but personally, I think he's too weak to join. Like I said, this last member's got to be strong. However, I'll give him an 8% chance of being the 10th member. Katakuri is one of the top options to be the 10th member. After the Big Mom defeats and losing Emperor status, Katakuri could be weighing his options and possibly thinking about joining a different crew. Like I said, the next crew member needs to be strong, and Katakuri is a great candidate for that, would fit right in there and that top 3, top 4 mix of Straw Hat members in terms of strength. If the invitation was given to him, I'm not sure if he would accept. He still has responsibilities with the rest of the Big Mom family. All those guys are doing something. Who knows exactly what they're gonna do. Katakuri's probably just gonna take over Big Mom's role of leading them. However, I'm gonna still give him a 20% chance of joining. Boa Hancock, another option. She's no longer a warlord, so she can't be safe from the world government. We've already seen her with Luffy, fits that threshold of being strong and would also fill some diversity holes being the 3rd woman on the crew. Only thing preventing Boa from joining would be that she already has a crew, so she would need to leave them behind to join Luffy, which if Luffy asked her, I'm sure she would. She's in love with him. But I don't think the story is going to go that way. I could be completely wrong. I'll give her a 16% chance of joining though. Kobe is a character that has always had theories around him joining the crew ever since the first episode when Luffy met him, just because he's one of the first friends Luffy had, but he seems very loyal to the Marines and Justice. Kobe does. He's also got his own character arc going on separately. He's Garp's pupil. It would just be weird to throw that all away to join the Straw Hats. So that's why I'll give him a 9% chance. Next up is Trafalgar Law. This one is interesting because if you ask me after Wano, I would say no way he's joining. But recently with Law versus Blackbeard, it's just Law and Beppo left. Maybe something happens to where Law joins the Straw Hats. Maybe Beppo goes back to Zoe or something. Like I said, he lost most of his crew. A lot of the Heart Pirates' fates are unknown. It seems like some of them drowned, and Law fits that threshold for the 10th member. He's very, very strong, a former warlord of the sea, but he's got his own thing going on. So I'll give him a 13% chance. Jewelry Bonnie, one of the options that has emerged because she was around the crew in Egghead. It happens every arc. You got the side character around the crew that people think is going to end up joining. I'll give her a 16% chance. I just don't think it's going to be her joining. Aruge, my personal top pick to join the crew because we've seen nothing from him. We've seen like little bits and pieces of him, and he's the only person from the worst generation that we haven't seen. And we know he's from a sky island. He's not Skypian per se, but I'm going to call him that. My next video is going to be how Luffy is connected to Skypia, Shandorians, and all of that. Aruge being a Skypian and adding to this theory with Luffy and the Shandorians, Aruge could be the 10th member. Fits the strength category. He would be right in there, that 4th, 5th spot, and also has a broken devil fruit power. We don't know what's happened to him. Maybe he got in a fight with someone and he lost his crew. He could be all by himself now. Other than the fight with Charlotte Snack and Charlotte Cracker, we haven't seen him. If he's alone and doesn't have a crew and he pops into the story soon, he's gonna join the Straw Hat Pirates. I am calling it. 30% chance Aruge is the 10th Straw Hat Pirate member. Vivi, the most logical answer by far. She's on the run, all alone, can't return back to Alabasta because of what happened at the Reverie. If you haven't seen that, I'm gonna spoil it. Her dad died. Cobra died, and Vivi has been known to have the D in her name now by Emu himself. She can't go anywhere. She can't be seen by anybody in the world government now. Her reconnecting with these Straw Hats is inevitable unless the government gets to her first. And once she meets back up with him, she has to join. Where else is she gonna go? Like I said, she can't return to Alabasta. The whole thing could get destroyed like Luja. She doesn't fit the strength category like I would like the next crew member to do, but everything is adding up for Vivi to join. She stayed behind originally to become a princess of her country and help her country, but now she can't do that anymore safely, so she's gonna have to just be on the run and be a pirate. If Vivi goes back to Alabasta, she puts the whole country at risk, and we know she won't do that. So it's either join Luffy or meet up with the Revolutionary Army and be safe with them. 50% chance the 10th Straw Hat Pirate is Vivi. And then lastly, the 10th crew member could be someone we haven't met yet. It seems weird, but there could be some people out there that have not been introduced in the story. I feel like most characters are known at this point, but every arc introduces new people, so it's possible the 10th crew member is someone that's just been hiding in the shadows this entire time. Who knows what Oda's cooking up? My personal theory, maybe someone from the world government turns heel and joins Luffy and gives Luffy all that information of the government. We'll see though. Thanks for watching.